Fired after taking the blame, the single dad stood defeated, until the CEO whispered, "Come with me." The office smelled of burnt tension, the kind that clings to the air long after the shouting stops. Papers were still fluttering from the outburst that ended everything for him. Daniel stood frozen, his breath heavy, his palms cold, while the HR manager's furious accusations rang in his ears like a punishment he didn't deserve. In that instant, his life, the fragile life he was trying to hold together for his little daughter, crumbled. The world didn't end with explosions. Sometimes, it ended with a quiet signature at the bottom of a termination letter. And as he held that letter, his vision blurred with the realization that he had taken the fall for something he didn't do, simply because he couldn't bear to see a struggling coworker lose her job. If you believe kindness and second chances still matter in this world, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support brings these stories to life. Daniel walked out of the conference room slowly, the weight heavier than any box he could ever pack. He passed desks, screens, and coworkers pretending not to stare. Some whispered. Some avoided eye contact. And some looked at him with guilt, because they knew, everyone knew, that Daniel Harding was the last person who would ever sabotage a project. He was the quiet worker who arrived early, helped others, submitted reports before deadlines. The man who ate lunch alone, sketching little cartoons for his 7-year-old daughter, Lily, just to make her smile. Being a single dad was never part of his plan, but life changes direction without asking permission. After his wife's illness took her away, Daniel lived every day with one priority, to be both the father and mother his little girl needed. Money was tight. Time was tight. And life was tight. But he did everything, worked extra hours, took freelance projects, skipped meals, just to make sure Lily never felt the weight of the struggles he carried. And now, with one decision to protect a coworker who'd begged him for help, everything had slipped out of his grip. The world outside the office felt colder. Even the sunlight seemed distant. Daniel sat in his old car for nearly an hour, staring at the steering wheel, unable to turn the keys. His chest tightened as he imagined Lily waiting for him at home, excited to show him the picture she drew, Daddy the hero, she'd called it yesterday. If only she knew how far from a hero he felt today. The bills were already late. Their rent was hanging by a thread. And now, nothing. No job. No safety net. Just a man who'd spent his last ounce of strength trying to do the right thing. Still, he drove home slowly, rehearsing ways to hide his sadness from Lily. She greeted him at the door with the kind of smile that could melt the hardest sorrow. He knelt, hugged her tightly, and felt something inside him crack open. She asked about his day, and he simply said, "It was long, sweetheart. But you make it better." He kept the termination letter hidden in his jacket pocket like a shameful secret. The next morning, determined to at least thank the CEO for the chance he'd once been given, Daniel returned to the company building, not to reclaim anything, but to quietly hand over his ID card, collect his remaining belongings, and disappear without creating noise. He expected security to escort him to a back door and end things coldly. But something unexpected happened. As he walked in, people watched him with an odd silence. Some looked worried. Some looked uncomfortable. But none of that prepared him for the moment he stepped into his old department and found the CEO, Nathan Hale himself, standing there, arms crossed, eyes sharp, studying him with an unreadable expression. Nathan rarely came down to the general floor. He was the type of leader you only saw during quarterly meetings and polished speeches. Daniel swallowed hard. He wasn't ready for another blow. Nathan approached him slowly, his gaze steady. And then, in a voice so calm it felt almost unreal, he said, "Walk with me." Daniel didn't understand, but he followed. They entered a quiet corner office where the noise of the outside world faded. Nathan leaned against his desk, arms folded again, and studied Daniel with the look of someone piecing together the truth. "I received the full incident report last night," Nathan finally said. "And I've spoken to everyone involved. I know what happened. I know you took the blame for someone else. Daniel's stomach dropped. He had expected anger, disappointment, maybe even a demand for an apology. But the CEO's words carried something else, something like disbelief mixed with admiration. Nathan stepped closer, lowering his voice. I've seen employees protect themselves. I've seen ambition, selfishness, ego. But I almost never see someone willing to ruin their own career to save another. Especially a single father. Daniel blinked, shocked that the CEO even knew about his personal life. Nathan continued, you didn't deserve to be fired. And you certainly don't deserve to walk out of this building defeated. Then, leaning a little closer, he whispered words Daniel would never forget, words that felt like a life raft thrown at the last possible second. Come with me. He handed Daniel a folder. Inside was a job offer, not just to return to the company, but to join a newly formed team under Nathan himself, with better pay, better hours, and the job security Daniel had only dreamed of. Nathan explained that he valued integrity above everything, and Daniel had shown more integrity in one moment than many employees showed in a lifetime. Daniel felt his legs weaken. His throat tightened. The world that had collapsed yesterday suddenly felt rebuilt, stronger than before. His daughter's face flashed in his mind, the way she saw him as a hero. Maybe now, he could live up to it. Later that evening, he picked Lily up in his arms, spun her around, and told her they'd be okay. For the first time in months, he felt light, a man no longer carrying shame, but hope. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your engagement helps these stories reach more people who need a little hope today. Before you go, comment below, integrity matters.